Going pretty far. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Dave Wilson of Results Staffing, and I am here with I met Gail. I've watched her on TED Talks, and I reached out. I'm sorry. I love the video, love the discussion, unconscious bias. But we are going to be right back after this commercials, and I'll tell you what, you're going to love this discussion. How do you like that?
What the heck was that?
I was watching your face on that. I was like,
you could see me. Oh, so you saw me picking my nose with my.
No, that thing is it's powerful. It's like,
wow, that was like great. Like I'm impressed.
It cost me $18.
What, on like Fiverr?
Yeah, Fiverr. Yeah, the guy, we get along great. Dark 2019 is his name, and for a whole year, he does my videos. He knows who I am. He is. Hey, everybody, I want to introduce to you Gail Miller. And Gail, you're just going to come out, I know, and just introduce yourself. And for those who don't know you, we're going to have fun here.
Oh, totally. If I can get through it, because I do have a cold. You saw me blow my nose probably, if you could see me. And I have Zoom brain. So it's, all right. Hopefully, I'm not on my A game today, but that's all right. I've been on tons of Zooms, so I'm just kind of frying. But that's all right. As long as we have fun, we're good. Hopefully, I'll be able to get the words out. So, all right. So you want me to just like introduce myself?
Yeah, let's just talk about it. And then we're going to go right in.
So I am Gail Tolstoy Miller. I have over 25 years of recruiting experience. And the last couple of years, I have been focused heavily on unconscious bias, diversity, inclusion, and also career and business coaching. So there you go.
I had so much. I got like 15,000 papers here, and then when it comes down to asking you questions, and I appreciate your time, because I want to tell everybody, if you don't follow Gail, something's wrong with you, because, well, you tell it like it is. And when we talked last year about unconscious bias, I realized that I had some of that, not in a bad way, but we all have it. Mm-hmm. And some of your postings coming out, I'm like, wow, that's true. Wow, that's true. And I wanted to hit you right off, because I have a lot of candidates anymore coming right out talking about, complaining to me right up front, age, the overqualified, underexperienced. They've made it to that second phase and they're lost. They think it's all of excuses. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, yes and no, right? So it depends on the situation. So let's say ageism, right? That is huge in corporate America. There is tons of ageism, and I would almost say not unconscious. Some of it's unconscious, but some of it's conscious. So if you're over 50, right, you have to know what the objections are of being over 50. What's the bias? You're overqualified. Yeah. You're outdated. You lack energy. That's a big one. Like if you're over 50, you have to go on that interview with tons of energy, because you almost have to compensate for that. Not that you have to be bouncing off the walls, snorting cocaine type of bouncing off the walls, but you know what I'm saying. So because if you know who you are and you know what some of the biases are, let's say you're a 32-year-old woman. What's the bias there? You're going to get pregnant. You might leave. No one's going to say they're thinking about that Not everybody thinks the same way, but that
Right.
could be the underlying bias.
Well, when you say that, since I've been doing a lot of the direct hires now, I see it because I've learned so much. The resume, I really look at it in a different way now. I get to talk to the person first. Because when I talk to them, it all comes together because you had said, I'll always never forget it on your talk, your yes file and your no file. And it could be by your name. Like if you're hiring for IT, you put out 2 names, yes, no. How do you know anymore? And I try to educate the customer by saying how it's a good candidate, but it's some reason, and I don't know why they won't take that.
Well, you have to say why you can't just say this candidate is good. What makes this candidate so great for your client? Right. So you have to be able to spell it out. When you build the rapport with your client, then they become, they trust you. I can't tell you how many times in my career, clients have had the same candidate in their database that I submit, and they never called them. And it's because most people don't know how to write a good resume. Just because you're an amazing candidate and you could be a potential amazing employee, doesn't mean that you're good at writing your own resume.
Right.
So if we're going to base it on that, then companies are short-sighting themselves. They want the perfect resume, but at the same time, candidates kind of have to try to do their best to create a resume that's good. I mean, quite frankly, if you do other things as a candidate, your resume will be less important. But it's important. It is. It's the first impression. But if you go on LinkedIn and you network, you have a good chance. Your resume is maybe secondary. But it's really about trying to answer, why should they hire you? Why you? What makes you so great? What makes you perfect for the job? And if you're not perfect for the job from a skill set perspective, what are the qualities, that you have that you could bring to the table?
Do you recommend we've all seen a lot of resumes, and now that I'm again in the direct hires, it's a different level. So a lot of it, someone could be 2-3 pages, and I'm like, whew, it's hard. Do you recommend people to have somebody do the resume for you? Does that work better, or in your experience?
I think if you're completely stuck, I think you should have someone do the resume for you. And there's so many services out there that do that. Or see, the biggest mistake that people do in their resume is they think their one-size-fits-all resume is going to fit every job. And it's just not. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. So I say I would rather a candidate apply to less jobs and really focus on those particular job descriptions and then re-engineer their resume that way. But I think it's also really important too that a candidate really tries to figure out what they really want, what's the job that they want, and also create that as well. But a lot of times they're missing those keywords. So, go on the internet, try to find the job, your dream job, the job that you want. And don't worry about what the location is. Just use it to build your resume. And then you say, oh my gosh, I forgot to put that in there. Especially with a lot of times with engineering, they forget the important things. I noticed. Because they're like, oh, well, I assume that that I have that. Well, if a recruiter is looking at your resume, they might not. So, but then recruiters also have to be able to read between the lines. It's their responsibility. And that makes a good recruiter, is knowing that most people suck at writing the resume and not holding it against them, and give a person the benefit of the doubt and give them a call. And that's how I've made tons of money, by other recruiters' laziness. Yeah. I mean, and I've been on the corporate side of recruiting, so I'm not knocking corporate recruiters. Okay. I've run, recruiting departments in high-tech firms. So it's a mindset. It's laziness. It's not understanding the candidates. It's not understanding how people write their resumes. It's not going the extra step and saying, oh, maybe this person's a gem. They just suck at writing their resume. It doesn't make them a bad person. Boom, done. That's it. And you also have to figure that a lot of people maybe haven't written a resume in a very long time. So companies are very short-sighted when it comes to that. I mean, I would love for resumes to be eradicated completely. And there's software.
Do you? I've been utilizing the video screening, video resumes now. What do you think about the video resume screening process? Uh, Do you see a lot of people tell me, and this is the truth, that I've tried to get it to them because I think it's a great idea.
It
But
is a good idea.
when you said about being older, I've sent out some good client candidates that I felt were over like 30, 20 years in the business. Say 20 years, they have to reinvent themselves. But I never got them interviews. I couldn't get the interview for them. Now, I'm not saying I don't know. I don't assume, again, it was from age. But when you said about lighting yourself up, I try to tell them in the video screening too, you got to pump it up and really be excited. And that seems to help. But some people say, I don't trust the privacy, that's bias. And then I'm thinking, why is it bias for the name? Is it bias the way you look?
It could be anything. It could be your accent, your tone, your pitch, the way you look. It could be, I gotta have something I think we discussed this I gotta have something in the background that they notice and they don't like. You know, people are sizing people up just by the backgrounds on their Zooms, right? So that's a big thing right now. So look, there's bias in everything. Are there pluses to it? Yes, but there could be minuses like anything else, you know? So it's a good way to get yourself in front of someone that normally maybe wouldn't have given you the time of day.
Right.
So I think that's a positive, but then it could also, hurt you. But that's in every step of the recruiting process. Anything can hurt you.
And I feel sorry. I mean, I try to help them as much as I can, but there's just sometimes I can't. There's nothing I can do. I don't know how you interview. I don't know how, like, for example, I had a candidate that had 6 jobs. So I assumed that, wow, she jumps jobs. But then I caught her and she was like, no, I love temporary jobs. I can work when I want. No, that's where I told you. I assumed I would have taken her and just put her off to the side because she had 6 jobs, not knowing that I didn't speak with her and says she just loves to, when she has time, she switches.
And there's a bias with that too. Like, companies don't like when someone has had 6 temporary jobs.
Right.
Some people, it depends on the person that is viewing. It's all in the eye of the beholder, as we say. It's their lens. So, you just have to, as a candidate, you just have to do the best that you can, explain it. If you're moving from job to job, explain it. And I think recruiters have a responsibility when they see that on a resume, not to jump to conclusions. I mean, imagine being a recruiter and let's just say someone was out of a job for a year.
Right.
And we know how people view that. Right. How would you feel if you found out that person took a year off because either they had COVID or they had cancer?
Right.
How does that make you feel? So let's not jump to conclusions that person's a loser. Excuse me, I have a cold.
That's all right.
Don't mean to. So yeah, we make so many quick assumptions and we don't take it's laziness. It's assumptions, it's stereotyping. And I think it's our responsibility not to create someone's story, but allow them to tell their own story. And that's what we do. We're creating people's stories. We create these stories in our mind and, we stick to it. That's what it is,
Well, I love your post because I'll tell you, I told everybody before, you hit it hard. I mean, you don't hold it back because we were talking, I looked at the one about social media again. Don't assume because they were younger that, people do look at people's social media pages. Have I looked at them differently? Yes. I don't just, if somebody's doing, like you said, you put in there, hey, you were crazy, you were dancing, doesn't mean that, the person's out partying every night. But companies look at the social media pages now. Have you run into that? Or, I mean,
I actually got into I wouldn't call it a pissing match, but I guess you could. The Jersey in me is coming out. With Amazon.
Yeah.
Because they had a post and they said, we're pretty much, they stalk their people. And if you don't agree with our social justice or, the way we do business or,
right.
And we don't agree everything socially, we're going to shut the door on you. And I was like, oh, they're like, yeah, we're pretty much stalking you. And I was like, whoa, and I said, that is just some dangerous stuff because let me tell you, this is my feeling about social media posts.
Right.
yes, there are certain things that you see that you can't unsee. Once it's out, right? That's part of it.
That's
So
it.
are we going to start getting into people's politics? Some people will argue, well, yeah, because if you are on this side, then you can't be a good person. If you're on that side, you're not a good person. Since when did politics come into play? I mean, I was recruiting before the internet. That crap didn't matter. Can you do the job? That's it. Okay.
That's it.
Are you a murderer? No. All right. So, and words could be twisted, and social media, it's just very dangerous. And another thing is that you might not like something you see that someone posted and they apply, and you shut the door. Okay.
Right.
But yet you have someone else that doesn't post and they don't say anything, but yet you don't know that you are hiring a Nazi.
Right.
Because they're not posting it. But yet you didn't hire this person that maybe said something that you didn't quite like, but they're not a Nazi. They don't hate anybody.
Right.
So it's very dangerous because it's not an even playing field. And when you hire, there's supposed to be an even playing field at every level, right?
Right.
And that's not the case when you're using social media, because not everybody engages the same way. And if someone decides, well, if they're smart enough, they're not going to post some hate speech, right?
Yeah, it is.
But some people hold it back. Should you hire someone that is hateful? You have every right not to. I get that, but what is our definition? That's where I think it gets clouded, where some people think it's hate speech and it's not. It's just a different opinion.
It is, because like I told you right before we were talking, even in my position now, I told you, I've been telling you the truth. When I do my video, well, I know.
Wait, what's that movie? Oh my gosh, there's a movie. Is it Jim Carrey?
Yeah, that's right, Jim Carrey.
The lawyer, and he's like, oh my gosh, it takes a truth serum and everything comes out. And
everything comes out. And last night, last night I did a video and I was really going at it, talking and saying the truth about, listen, I've been there. I've done it. You can't anybody. And I was really going out. Then I say to myself, wow, would somebody hire me? Because I'm saying something the way I am, or do they trust me? So I went through a time to where I stopped assuming and I wouldn't say as much. I was like, oh, it better be good. And I was like, oh, this is boring. I cannot do it. I didn't know how to write anything by just saying, okay, is somebody going to judge me? I had to get it out. So I don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah. I think that when I post, this is what I think. And
right.
And I'm not scared of how people judge me. I know not everyone's going to agree. I feel like if you put something, okay, so this is my feeling. If you're scared to post something that you think will be held against you, then maybe you should think about, why would I feel that way? Maybe there is something wrong with it.
That's
right.
They're the things.
That's kind of like checking your bias or the way you're thinking. Yes, it might be controversial, but if you believe it's right, then go for it. But if you're thinking, wow, maybe I shouldn't post this because it's just not nice,
right,
or something, then you may want to reevaluate, what is this really? What am I, right? It depends on the situation. But I mean, I think honesty is the best policy, because you'll just attract the people that resonate with you. Not everyone's the problem is everybody wants to be well-liked. Everybody wants everyone to love them. I know I piss people off, whatever. I can't, it is what it is. I can't, not everyone's going to like me. And I can accept that. But there are people that, like my stuff, which is great.
I messaged the other day and I said, I found myself being Gail on some of your stuff. I found myself being like you sometimes, because you come out hitting it hard. Then I'm like,
really? I don't even see it that way. I just
example like marijuana.
That post, yeah.
Well,
that was yesterday.
That was yesterday, yeah. But you made sense. Some people use it for medical. Okay, so now I always thought about, when we hire in New Jersey, does that disqualify the person, or do you assume, well, I'm not going to give it to this person because they smoke, that's marijuana? And you said the difference of alcohol. What's the difference from alcohol and marijuana?
Right. You're going to use it the same way. You're going to use the same rules, I think, for marijuana with alcohol, right?
Right.
We could have a drink over the weekend. We're not going to go to work drunk. We're not going to smoke. We're not going to drink at work.
Right.
I would think that you would apply the same rules for marijuana. The only difference is medicinal, right? If someone, and there's ways around that, so you don't get high, right, for medicinal purposes. I just think it's foolish that, there are people that have records for marijuana and it ruins their whole career. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And I think cigarettes should be, in my opinion, I think cigarettes should be illegal. Yeah. Is there any good thing about cigarettes?
Nope.
No.
Not at all.
But yet the government will take your money for it. And how much money do we spend on healthcare, and our insurance goes up because of cigarette related, at least marijuana. There's some medicinal purposes. I mean, I myself took it medicinally when I was on chemo, and there was nothing else. I mean, codeine, Vicodin. I mean, that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah, right? That one, right?
That's that didn't work, but marijuana really helped me. So, and it helps people in other ailments. So I think we should be less judgmental. I think there's a stigma on marijuana. Do I think people should be getting high every day and just having, I think there's a responsible way, but I know people that actually smoke a little bit each night to go to bed and relax themselves. Right. How is that different than taking a sleeping pill?
We use my son. He's only 10 and we use the oil. My wife uses the oil. I don't know much about it, but it does it for his ADHD, whatever. I can't even pronounce that, but it helps. She didn't want to give him the medication. Everybody thinks, oh, is it pot? No, it's not pot.
Right.
I assume, I'm like, there you go again. And you have me always saying that. You assume, because every time I go just like that between this and I go to a company, you assume. Every time I get tired of that word over and over and over and trying to defend it. With candidates, the same thing. Because you even said, I love this. You even said, I got it all printed out.
Oh my God.
What did you mean by sneaky unconscious biases that wreak havoc on every decision in life? I was trying to read that and understand it.
Where did you see that?
Right there on your unconscious field. It says several sneaky unconscious biases that wreak havoc on every decision in life.
Say that again.
Several sneaky unconscious biases that wreak havoc on every decision in life.
Well, I wouldn't say every decision. I don't know. But some decisions, yeah. I mean, unconscious bias impacts all aspects of our lives.
Right.
And it could be life or death. Healthcare, doctors, doctors will never admit, oh, I don't have unconscious bias. Look, unconscious bias, and a lot of people think it doesn't exist, is based in science. It's in our brains. Right. There's MRI studies that prove it. So, healthcare, female chest pain, they're treated differently than men. Right? Men, let's rush them to the ER. They're having a heart attack. Even though some women have different symptoms than men, they're not treated as serious. Oh, you've got anxiety. You're not having a heart attack. And that's why so many women die from heart attacks.
Well, heart attacks. I didn't realize it was so big. And you said
it's
that
huge.
My aunt. It's huge. My aunt had
huge. The disparity between Black women versus white women when they're pregnant, very different. The outcomes, they're treated very differently. So the list goes on and on. Let's think about the media. I mean, the media
That's
is,
what the next thing was.
Gosh.
That's what I was going to add. Like, how do you...
Teachers, it's everywhere. Education, judicial. But if we're going to talk about media...
Wow.
Media right now is so disheartening. It disgusts me, the media. There is no... I call it opinion pieces. And what's going to happen is you're going to align and you're going to believe the facts that align with your thinking, your, oh God, I can't even think right now. It's confirmation bias, basically. You're going to find things that confirm your beliefs and you're going to believe that. Why is it that 50% of the country, and I was just on a Zoom call before and I was talking about this, 50% of the country thinks they could see one fact, whatever it is, right? They view it this way, and then the other country views it another way. I mean, if you think about it, the journalists, they will say they're unbiased, but they are biased. Even if you notice, and this drives me crazy and it happens all the time, I call it, it's really opinion pieces.
Right.
They tell you how you're supposed to feel. So they put adjectives in it, which I think reporters should leave adjectives out of it.
Right. It makes sense.
Like they put a spin on it. And you have to think, what information are they leaving out? What information are they deciding to put in? Again, confirming how they want the news to transpire. And you see this all the time where they don't play the whole clips of certain things. Very dangerous. I would say, you know, depending upon who you are, you're either a CNN person or you could be a Fox person, or you're watching both, right? You're trying to weigh. That's actually what I think you should do, but that's my opinion.
Right.
But it's very different reporting. Very different reporting.
On that
and
part.
It's very interesting to see what they leave out and what they decide to put in.
What do you tell when you go? I know you've talked to a lot of companies and coaching, and what do you tell people? Like, what do you coach them about? Like, how do you bring it out and teach about unconscious bias? What I mean, because I've learned from you, and I've learned a lot more. But how do you teach it? What kind of tools do you use to say to somebody, are you biased or not?
Well, there is an online tool that everyone can use by Harvard, the IAT test, the Implicit Association test. That's one test. But I have various, I have exercises that we do. But really, I mean, there's things that you could do personally. Slow down your thinking, evaluate the decisions that you're making. Empathy. They even say meditation helps because it slows down your process and makes your thoughts more clear. But really in organizations, it's taking personal responsibility and looking inward, and expanding your inner circle, because we tend to gravitate towards people that are ourselves, but really it's policies and procedures in companies. It's the only way. Policies and procedures, because if you just rely on, yourself, it's individuals, it's never going to work. I mean, even me who studies this and does this for a living, I wouldn't just rely on me to, because it creeps in.
Yeah,
so I'm more aware.
Here, it's like, did you ever feel like you judge people too fast, like you said? And I still say yes, because not all this, like you see them in a grocery store, during an interview, your mind lights up. They're too fat, they're too skinny, they're too tall, they're too short, too ugly, too pretty, too clean, too rank, too tough, too weak, too stupid, too smart, too rich, too poor, too old, too young. How was that?
Oh my gosh, I feel like that was very George Carlin.
True, but
he was one of my favorite comedians. He was.
How would I have guessed that? How would I have guessed that?
He is the GOAT. He was the GOAT. Imagine if he was alive right now.
Oh
my gosh.
I wonder. Have him on a Zoom call.
He'd probably be canceled.
I know, with him. But you're right. When you look at this, just that what you wrote there, it made me think. You do jump to conclusions, and it's not fair. It's not fair. I get irritated anymore.
Yeah, we're humans. That's what we do. That's what we do.
All right, and then I love this stuff. So I love it. I call it. I get rid of all these trees. All these trees. And let's see, you can't judge other people, but you can change yourself. I like that.
Yeah. You can't control what's happened to you, like things that are out of your control. You can't control what people say. You can't control how they're going to react. The only thing that you can control is take responsibility for how you react to situations and to people and to yourself. So you got to take full responsibility. I'm not a big victim person.
Right.
I'm not a big yes, things happen and you could be a victim, obviously, but it's how you get through that really is a testament to how you move forward.
Well, I like your saying is I love yours. I read it all, and you're like,
thank you.
Well, it depends on what Gail you're going to get today. You could show up, and whether you're in the 80s with your hair, or you might get the one that's happy, the one that's rolled up in a blanket. And I was like, oh, geez, who am I going to get today? Last time it was AC/DC. You were all AC/DC'd out.
Yeah. I was almost going to wear my Pink Floyd shirt today.
I was like, this is the girl that was on the video. I was like, hey, she's got AC/DC. She's ready to go.
Look, and people would judge that, but that's like, that feels true. I'm not doing it. It's like anybody else. Why is that even a thing? Because, if I was wearing your typical corporate attire, no one would think twice. But yet I wear an AC/DC shirt. Why does it matter? Like, why does that? So what? That's my so what? So friggin' what? Really, so what is who gives a fuck?
See, I knew it. It
kind of is. Excuse me. I don't know if
yeah, you won't get kicked off.
And guess what? There are people out there. Oh, why is she cursing? Do you know there's studies that show that I don't know if it's the more you curse, but cursing shows your intelligence.
Oh,
yes, there's a study. Go find it on Google. Everyone, if you just judge me for dropping an F-bomb, go check that one out.
We'll check that one out. All right, I got two things. Then we're going to wrap it up. One is, again, if how do you change a company culture like that? How do you go in and HR? Because HR to me is they're so involved with not the human aspect anymore, because it's always they're doing the staffing now. They're doing everything but human resources, I always say, because they don't get out on the floor and talk to people. They don't do certain things. But how do you teach culture like that? How do you show someone, in a company, what are you doing wrong? So
it depends on the organization and how their HR department is organized, because there are, a recruiter is very different than a generalist,
right.
And then they have compensation. So it really depends. My HR folks are not going to like me too much, but look, HR, they want to see it. And I just did a post on that. I don't know if you saw that post about my little rant on HR.
Yeah.
HR, first of all, corporate culture needs to come from the top. Okay.
Thank you. I said that last night.
Yeah. The CEO really needs to set the tone and hold everyone accountable for that. So, for instance, if you want diversity in your organization, which a lot of companies, it's just lip service. Right. They cherry pick. It's just on the out, if you really want people to be held accountable for diversity, and being respectful of other people, then put that in their bonus, like hold them accountable, like in their raises, right? So it's really holding individuals and the company accountable for that. But it comes from the top, but sometimes it's not at the top, and it's HR really needs to be more strategic. And, HR is in a weird spot. I feel like HR is almost like a real estate agent.
Yeah, you're selling.
Because they're in the middle, right? So HR, the company pays them, right? And they have to kind of go along with what they're doing, right? If they kind of go against the grain and they want to do the right thing,
we talk about that all the time.
Why do you think sexual harassment, and this is where I get really pissed off at HR. Why do you think all of this sexual harassment has been going on for years? Because HR is an accomplice. Okay. Right. And that's why I got into all this unconscious bias, because I was feeling like an accomplice as a recruiter to all this bullshit that's going on. All this, like I could pull the curtain out and really expose a lot of companies. Right. Even companies that say they have high scores, they're full of crap. Right. So I'm not going to do that right now, but I'm not going to do that. However, what was I saying? So yes, companies need to be held accountable, but HR has to take responsibility in perpetuating this. And how much power do they really have? Do they really have a seat at the table, or are they just a puppet? I had someone that said to me, he was a VP of HR, and he says, I am not rocking this boat. I have a kid to put through college, right? And he wasn't going to do the right thing, and he didn't by the employees. So, each time someone is signing off on a contract to get paid off and not to say anything about the sexual harassment while HR is giving them that contract, you're an accomplice to that.
It is. And
so HR has, I'm very tough on HR, and they're going to say, well, we're just the messenger. But no, you have to have enough persuasion skills and ROI. to the organization and to the CEO to say, this is what we need to do to make the corporate culture better.
Right. And that's, I agree 100% there.
If you can't convince, as a leader, if you can't do that as an HR leader and have frank discussions with the CEO of the organization and the leadership team, the executive team, then you're not an effective HR leader. And if you can't somehow quantitate the effects or the impact of the negative corporate culture that they have and show how the changes that you propose to make can be beneficial, then, you're in the wrong position. Then just be a puppet, It
is, because a lot of the candidates that I talked to, I was like, did you go to HR? Oh, they're not going to do anything. And they're not going to do anything. That is, you hear it a lot. And I'm always like, HR back in the day, I always say, I'm sorry. HR scared the hell out of me. Still do. Because they're not coming out to say, hey, you're doing a great job. It's normally not that. Go to HR, But then again, if they don't do anything, a candidate should not be afraid to go in there. And
well, there's a lack of trust because, who's their allegiance? Is it to the CEO of the company or is it to the employees? They're in the middle. That's why I call them like real estate agency.
They did it to me. She did, and my situation was a little bit different, but I left the company. I resigned after 9 years because the HR director, I was driving down the road and she said something very pissed off to me that, when I pulled over and I was saying, you will never fire me for for job performance. I knew where the company was going. I knew, but that HR director was one that I thought I could trust. I really, really. But when it came to the puppet, you said it exactly. That's what she was. Because why did you say that to me? I pulled right over and listen, I shouldn't have been recording, but you never know. But why should you? I did. I love my wife listens to it all the time. I get pissed off. And she says tit for tat. But HR there was not held accountable. No, I didn't trust them anymore. And that's just my story.
You know what? I think it comes down to fear.
Yeah.
Ineffective HR comes down to fear because they don't want to rock the boat. They want to make the change, but they just, it's groupthink, which is part of, all these things that go on in corporations and fitting in, and, that promotes actually microaggressions and bias. It's the groupthink going along and just, being in this culture, being entrenched in it, and it's like you become this person. This is what I truly believe. I give people the benefit of the doubt. I truly believe that people want to be good and they want to do the right thing. But when you're in this institution of corporate America, you somehow, it rubs off on you. It's either sink or swim. And sometimes in certain cultures, corporate cultures, you got to act a certain way that may be against what you normally would do, and you justify it, and you're swimming because you need that. You want a promotion, you want this, you want that, and you become a person that you don't like. And then sometimes you don't realize it until you leave, and you're like, wow, I can't believe I did that, or I regret I treated this person this way, or, it
takes you a while to get over that kind of stuff. It really does.
Yeah, it's really corporate America, the institution. I've always had it. I mean, I don't think I could ever work for corporate America again.
Well, that's what I say. I think I'd be fired within the first week. It's tough.
Who has time for the BS? There's just so much bullshit. You know what? I think if, as individuals, we all know what we need to do. It's just like someone has to have the courage to say, what are we doing here?
Right.
Do you agree with me? And then the next person's like, oh my gosh, yes. Why are we acting this way? And then the next person, and then all of a sudden you have everyone that's saying, wow, we are acting like total jerks. We are like, we're not doing the right thing, but we're all just too damn scared because you know what? I don't want to lose my home. I gotta put a kid through college. I need this job. I need health benefits. I need this. I need that. And that's what happens.
You hit that right on there. And I still get burned up about it, because it's fresh in my mind still, but I've had to learn to let it go. And, you have to let it go. And it's not, I always just say, I've accepted it. I accept like an apology, but I don't forget it.
Yeah.
You were wrong. You need to help people. I tell people, you said empathy. Empathy, you need to know, because one of your postings, love it, is even saying about pre-COVID, versus COVID. Somebody wants to leave early because a child. See, I remember all this stuff. A child.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you said, well, why wouldn't you let it pre-COVID? Now it's okay being COVID that they can work from home.
Yeah.
You didn't trust them. So that means, did you trust your employees? So I knew something was like that.
Yeah, that was the HR post that it really comes down to a lack of trust. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was really good. So, but
companies are so short-sighted. Corporate America is very stubborn and set in their ways. And if you really think about how much we evolved, you have to evolve with the times. And
right.
I'm not saying every company's like this. I mean, I'm sure someone's watching this and you're like, why is she being this way? Our company's awesome. We've got a great group of people. There's no corporate politics. There's not. Yeah, there are companies. I'm not saying all, but there's a nice amount that they still have a long way to go. And, I think one of the biggest issues in corporate America is the corporate politics that are in place. And that's why you see so many people that are in positions that shouldn't be there because they know how to navigate, right? If you're a person like me, that's like, I'm not going to deal with this shit. Like, this is BS and I'm not going to conform to this nonsense. I'm not going to do well with that. Like, unless I'm in an environment that you work in a rebel environment. I don't know what else kind of, it's like you could be yourself. Everybody embraces the differences. We could all state, how we feel, our opinions, and we embrace that. And then, like, how great is that? A safety net for diverse thought.
Right. Because when I see some of the postings with all the diversity going on, everything that happened, and then they say, oh, everyone's welcome here. And I didn't understand it. I'm thinking, what do you mean everyone? Who is everyone? We're all welcome for the company, to work for a company. The CEO put it out when we were going, when things were all happening.
What you weren't welcome before? Like,
yeah.
What? You have to make that state. Like, I get why they were saying that, but
yeah. I was pissed off because I was like, oh, you say that now? When people walk in an office, I never sit there and say, oh, welcome everyone. We welcome everyone. Who is everyone? So you got me thinking that all the time. Who is everyone? Like, who? And you get tired of it because you see companies doing it all the time, and I get pissed off at it.
Do they really, though? When they say everyone, let's test that. Let's test that.
That's what I mean. And I think
any company that says that to me, I'm going to test them and say, okay, are you going to hire someone who walks in an interview, a man in a dress?
Right.
Is that everyone? Are you going to say, okay, that's okay? Are you going to accept someone that has, I don't know, 200 pounds overweight?
Right.
Are we going to cherry pick everyone? Guarantee you they are. Right. It's not everyone.
And that makes total sense. And you're hitting it right there. And I know it's a discussion, but I tell people all the time, these are the discussions that need to take place.
Yes.
I'm sorry. If you have them, if you're uncomfortable with it, then something's going on within your organization, because I shouldn't feel uncomfortable by somebody coming to me and asking me questions, or feel embarrassed, or like you said, somebody's overweight. Would I look at that differently? At first, I think everybody does. You're biased.
Probably.
I told you that.
That's our media, right? That's like the images in advertising. That's that bias, right? It's ingrained since we're small. Like, we see it on TV. What's defined as attractive?
Right.
Magazines. Right.
I love the interns that come over, because anybody that's interned through the COVID, they would come here. I didn't look at it that way. I'll tell you what, they rocked it. I was like, they came up with my slogan, staffing done differently. And Taylor, I'll never forget her. Taylor's just a tiny little person, you wouldn't think, but she rocked it, man. Now, there again, biased, would I've hired somebody? And I always say to myself, I try not to look at the person anymore. I don't, because it's just wrong. But I'm hoping I'm trying to show people that too, that's wrong. Like you said about the kids, about work, pre-COVID, COVID. If you let one, what happens to the other? And then what's wrong with doing it? And you see, I'm reading your lines again. What's wrong with doing that? And it makes sense. And I wish a lot more people would read some of the stuff that you post.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, well, you get me all worked up, But I really want to thank you so much. And
Thank you for having me again.
And I wanted you to mention about your I have it right here. I know you're going to say it before I do. Your training class.
Oh, my Udemy class?
Yeah, you have it online and
yes. It's actually been out for about a year, a little over a year. If you go on Udemy, you'll find it. Just search my name, and it's on unconscious bias. And I'm really excited that I just relaunched my podcast, which is Your Career Cure. I started it 4 years ago and then I stopped after a couple episodes because there was stuff going on. And now I just relaunched it this week and I have my first guest. And it's just great. It's anything and everything about your career. It's not like your typical, I'm inviting people that kind of extends. It's not your typical Your Career Cure type thing. Like you would think all the guests are cookie cutter.
Cookie cutters, that's in there.
Yeah. So yeah. And I always touch upon somehow unconscious bias always creeps in every single episode.
Every single episode. You wonder why, because you look at all your, I'll still share your post and I don't get nobody says, hey, who is this person? I don't get any negative.
Crazy person.
This crazy person.
That's okay. I don't care if people think I'm crazy.
I know. See, now you got me saying that.
No one could say anything to me that would really, honestly, that would make me flinch. Someone could say they hate me and be like, all right, so what? Okay, you hate me, huh? What do you want me to do? That's your problem, not mine.
No, and for all the years experience, and again, like I said, a lot of people, you don't realize how you touch and how you affect someone like you have me, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. It's that quote. Wait, so I know you saw that quote yesterday or 2 days ago that I posted from Warren Buffett.
Yes. It was, I have it.
Jeez. Okay. Why don't you tell everyone what that is? And I think it just touched me. I just saw it. I was like, oh, I love that.
Oh my God.
You have it?
It was, hold on.
Look at you with the notes.
I know, because I have Miss Gail Miller on here, Jeez, I don't have it. I have that.
Oh my gosh, but you're being so over 50 with the paperwork.
Oh, that's true. That's true too. Yeah, all my notes and look at them all.
If you were on an interview, someone would be judging that right now.
No, I don't have it about Warren Buffett.
Okay, so I'm not going to I hope I get it exact. I probably won't. It's something like someone planted a tree.
Oh, the tree, and then it grew.
So someone planted a tree so you could sit in the shade.
Yes, I was going to ask you what that meant because you did that separately.
Yes.
And that's where your picture is. Yep.
So basically what that means is someone led the way for you. Someone planted a tree so you can benefit from that, right? So people are doing things every day that are impacting other people because they're planting the seed or they did something and that impacts you. So you could sit in the shade, right? They're planting the seed, the tree's growing, and now you're, like Roe versus Wade or let's say Steve Jobs with the internet, whatever it may be, people are paving the way every day. And it's not just people like that. It's the small little things that you do that you have no idea how you're impacting. And everybody has the capability to plant a tree, someone else sits in the shade. All
right. Well, I just planted a tree for you. Okay. So we'll see how it grows. We'll see how it grows.
Awesome.
I want to thank you so much, Gail. Right, and I know you probably got 10 other Zooms. Are you zoomed out yet?
I literally feel like I'm going to call it Zoom drug. I don't know I'm on Zoom crack or something.
Zoom crack.
That's what it feels. Not that I've ever tried crack, but I just feel like I am literally, my mind is fried.
Right.
I could barely get the words out. I'm exhausted from it. And a study just came out from some college in California. Maybe it's Stanford. And they've done studies on Zoom. Well, I'm calling it Zoom crack. They didn't call it that. I just coined that phrase. And how it's really taking a toll on people's cognitive.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. I feel like I'm impaired, cognitively impaired right now.
You got to go from one right to the other. And
I'm done. This is my last one for today.
That's it, right? So, no, thank you so much. And it's been so real. Thanks, everybody. And make sure you follow Gail Miller, and you'll really love some of these posts. Trust me.
Thank you
no holds barred. So thanks, everybody, and we'll talk again. Thank you.
Thank you.